Let's get physical. It's Jordan here, back again with this month's update on all the physical releases coming to PlayStation and Xbox consoles. As always, this video was researched, written, and edited by my man Tim. It's all down to him. Let's see what he's found for us this month. This Is Fine Maximum Cope is releasing on the 1st of May for PlayStation 5 and Switch in Europe. A puzzle platformer based on the well-worn This Is Fine meme, turning cheerful denial into an actual game. You guide the famous dog through collapsing environments, dodging hazards, and solve light environmental puzzles while everything around you steadily catches fire. It's clearly leaning hard in on the joke, but there seems to be at least a proper game attached to it. Whether the meme still has enough life in it, well, that's another matter. Darkest Dungeon 2 Anniversary Edition is releasing on the 5th of May for PlayStation 5 and Switch in North America and Europe. The punishing roguelike returns in a new physical edition that keeps getting delayed, but hopefully it is actually the 5th of May, as you send broken heroes across a dying world, one miserable carriage ride at a time. The sequel divided some fans by shifting away from the first game's dungeon crawling structure, but it's found its footing since launch. The turn-based battles, stress management, and steadily worsening decisions are as exquisite as ever. This version is obviously more for fans who want an expensive box and all the trinkets. The regular retail version is still very easily found. Also, this version seems to have the DLC as a code and it's not actually on the disc or cartridge, sadly. But my executive producer, Dane Wilkinson, he's chosen this as his pick of the month. Directive 8020 is releasing on the 12th of May for Xbox and PlayStation 5 in North America and Europe. Supermassive's next cinematic horror outing trades haunted houses for deep space, with the crew of the Cassiopeia stranded light years from home, and something hostile is already on board. Choices, quick reactions, and the usual life or death branching decisions drive the experience here. It's one of the bigger releases of the month, helped by a stronger premise than some recent entries. If they can keep up the tension, this could be one of their better ones. And my executive producer, Viz, has chosen this as his pick of the month. I Hate This Place is releasing on the 14th of May for PlayStation 5 and Nintendo Switch in Europe, and on the 29th of May in North America. A survival horror game based on the comic series, dropping you into a rural nightmare where the rules of reality seem to have packed in. Exploration, scavenging, and staying one step ahead of whatever is stalking you is the core concept. The title sets the tone nicely. Early interest has been solid, and the comics following gives it a bit more weight than your average licensed effort. Thank Goodness You're Here is releasing on the 15th of May for PlayStation 5 and Nintendo Switch in North America. Tim is asking me to pretend I'm from Yorkshire with an accent, but I am actually from Yorkshire, but I've lost my accent, so I can't actually say like, hey up, and stuff like that. My family would laugh at me. But this is a gloriously silly adventure set in a bizarre Yorkshire town, where helping locals usually means things worse in inventive new ways. Short tasks, odd jobs, and constant visual gags keep it moving without ever feeling dull. I just can't do it. I'm sorry, Sheffielders, I'm sorry. It is very short, but seriously worth playing. Already a hit elsewhere, and deservedly so. Very funny, very British, and certainly very memorable. Highly recommended, and my executive producer Sora Cat has chosen this as a pick-up month. Kingdom Come Deliverance is releasing on the 15th of May for Xbox and PlayStation 5 in North America and Europe. This has already released on PlayStation 4 and Switch. Warhorse's medieval RPG returns in a bundled edition, packing in the base game and its DLC while bringing the whole thing to current hardware. You're still dropped into a muddy, grounded version of Bohemia where combat is extremely awkward, travel is very slow, and even reading has to be learned. It remains one of the more committed RPGs of its kind, for better or worse. Brilliant if you want immersion, less so if you value convenience. Darksiders Warmastered Edition is releasing on the 19th of May for Xbox and PlayStation 5 in North America and Europe. It already released on PlayStation 4 and Switch. The first Darksiders gets another lap around the houses, bringing War's chunky apocalypse adventure to current consoles once again. Zelda-style dungeon design, hack-and-slash combat, and a heavy metal take on the end times. It's been available on just about everything ever made, even the Commodore 64 probably. So there are no surprises to be had here still. The original remains one of the better mid-tier action games of the era, so if you're nostalgic then maybe pick it up if you don't somehow own it already. Forza Horizon 6 is releasing on the 19th of May for Xbox worldwide. Microsoft's open world racer returns with another huge festival of supercars, off-road adventures, and the sort of cheerful excess only Horizon can get away with. An amazing fresh map based on Japan, with hundreds of vehicles, and the usual blend of arcade handling with just enough realism to flatter everyone. These games rarely miss, and the series has become one of the Xbox's safest bets. The challenge now is finding new ways to surprise people who already know the drill. However, I think cruising JDM in nighttime Tokyo will be enough, and my executive producer Josh Foote has chosen this as his pick of the month. Starbites is releasing on the 21st of May for PlayStation 5 and Nintendo Switch in North America and Europe. There was going to be a Switch 2 game key, but it was cancelled, haha. A turn-based RPG set on a desert planet, following a crew of scavengers chasing profit, trouble, and whatever else they can haul back in one piece. Battles mix traditional commands with mech customization, giving the whole thing a slightly scrappier edge than most. It is a smaller release, but one with a clear identity. Could be a tidy surprise if the writing and systems hold together, and my executive producer Lewis K has chosen this as his pick of the month. And by the way, if you want to purchase this or any of the games in this video, then please do so via the links down below in the description and pinned comment. You can purchase from Video Games Plus, who are a fantastic company with free worldwide shipping on orders over 75 Canadian bucks, like 55 American dollars. And I do truly thank you ever so much for your support. Psyvariar 3 is releasing on the 21st of May for PlayStation 5 in Europe. In Japan, there is also a Nintendo Switch and Nintendo Switch 2 physical release, and I do expect Europe to get those eventually too, but so far, it's only PlayStation 5. A bullet hell shooter built entirely around risk, where brushing enemy fire, or called buzzing, is the whole point of the scoring system. The closer you fly to disaster, the stronger you become, turning every run into a constant judgment call between survival and greed. It is a welcome and surprising sequel to an old-school classic, and very much aimed at the dedicated arcade shooter crowd. It can take a while to get used to how it plays, but when it clicks hard. And it is my man Tim's pick of the month. King of Tokyo is releasing on the 21st of May for PlayStation 5 and Nintendo Switch in North America, with Europe to follow later on in June. A digital adaptation of the popular board game where giant monsters, aliens, and robots battle it out for control of Tokyo. You roll dice to smash opponents, heal up, or stack points with just enough strategy to stop it being too unruly. It's already well known in tabletop circles, so this is more about convenience than reinvention. Still a solid party game if you want something loud, fast, and a bit silly. Seems to be some hype online. Lego Batman Legacy of the Darkness is releasing on May the 22nd for Xbox and PlayStation 5. There is also a Nintendo Switch 2 version, but it is a game key. Boo. A new LEGO take on Batman's legacy, pulling together familiar villains, allies, and story beats from across his long history into a single brick-built adventure. An open-world Gotham exploration, puzzle solving, and the usual slapstick LEGO combat layered over the cape and cowl formula. These games tend to live or die on charm rather than innovation, and this looks to be firmly in that tradition, safe, familiar, and probably exactly what it is aiming to be. And my executive producers, God of Resin, Firm Returns, and Jeddah Crow, they've chosen this as their pick of the month. 007 First Light is releasing on the 27th of May for Xbox and PlayStation 5 worldwide. IO Interactive's James Bond game focuses on a younger, pre-00 Bond building his way into the role rather than already owning it. Stealth, gadgets, and social infiltration sits alongside more explosive set pieces, all wrapped up in the studio's methodical, systems-driven approach. It's one of the more intriguing licensed projects in a while, largely because of the Hitman DNA behind it. Plus, it's been absolutely ages since we had a proper good Bond game, and if they get this right, this could be a proper rethink of Bond in game form. I recently, as Jordan here speaking by the way, I recently did a video retrospective reviewing every single Bond video game ever, and I absolutely loved my time with it, and so that means I am so hyped for this, and so are my executive producers. Mojo, They, The Nemo 6, Brent McLean, Alexander Cato, Cartoon Soren, Switch Effect, Jimmy A. Guerrero, Madhor 110, and myself. It is our pick of the month. Wings of Bluestar is releasing on the 27th of May for PlayStation 5 in North America. A horizontal shoot-'em-up with a bright anime-style presentation, sending you through waves of enemy fire with a mix of standard shot special attacks and screen-filling bursts of chaos. It leans towards more classic arcade structure than Danmaku, A niche release, but a welcome one for fans of shmups that miss the Amiga style. Busbound is releasing on the 28th of May for Xbox and PlayStation 5 in North America and Europe. I'm genuinely amazed at how many bus sims we get physical releases for. Anyway, a sim focused on operating city bus routes, managing stop schedules and passenger flow as you navigate urban traffic, the usual style of realism with a steady, methodical pace built around sticking to timetables. Very much a niche sim, but one that knows exactly what it is. If you enjoyed the slow rhythm of route management, then you're gonna get that here. Bluey's Quest for the Gold Pen is releasing on the 28th of May for Xbox, PlayStation 4, PlayStation 5, Nintendo Switch, and Nintendo Switch 2 on a proper cartridge. A family-friendly adventure set in the world of Bluey, built around playful exploration, simple puzzles, and minigames inspired by the show. It's very much aimed at younger players and families. Expect exactly what you expect. Necrophosis Full Consciousness is releasing on the 28th of May for PlayStation 5 in North America and Europe, a first-person psychological horror game set in a decaying, surreal world where reality feels half-formed and constantly shifting. Exploration and environmental storytelling lead the way, with puzzles threaded through increasingly unsettling spaces. Heavy on atmosphere and discomfort rather than action, one of those releases where the tone is doing most of the heavy lifting. Story of Seasons Grand Bazaar is releasing on the 28th of May for PlayStation 5 in North America and Europe. It already released on Switch and Switch 2. The very popular and well-regarded farming and life sim built around running your own stall at a weekly bazaar, growing crops, raising animals, and selling goods to gradually expand your business. The usual loop of planting, harvesting, socializing is all there, just with a stronger focus on trade and market days. It is a familiar formula with the series, now arriving on PlayStation a bit later than elsewhere, but it is one of the better, more recent entries. I absolutely loved it. Naiad, I think that's how you say it, is releasing on the 28th of May for PlayStation 5 in Europe. A calm, exploration-focused adventure where you play as a small river spirit drifting through winding waterways and gently interacting with the environment. Movement is fluid and slow-paced, with discovery and atmosphere really coming together strongly. It's very much a mood piece and has been well received on its digital release, and my executive producer Azrath has chosen this as his pick of the month. System Shock 2 25th Anniversary Remaster, releasing on the 29th of May for PlayStation 5 and Nintendo Switch in Europe. Limited Run previously did this in North America. A remastered version of the iconic sci-fi horror RPG set aboard a derelict spaceship where an AI experiment has gone wrong. Very wrong. Hacking systems, managing scarce resources, and trying not to lose your mind while something stalks the corridors, it is still deeply influential, and this version mostly aims to modernize the rough edges with standard QOL. It's a classic that many hold dear and feel that is still relevant even to this day, and my executive producer Dave Huswaite has chosen this as his pick of the month. Long Gone Days is releasing on the 29th of May for PlayStation 5 and Switch in Europe, a modern-day turn-based RPG following a young soldier who begins to question the conflict he's been raised for. Battles are grounded and tactical, but the focus leans heavily on dialogue, relationships, and the human cost of war. It's been out on other platforms for a while and seems fairly well received, one for those who enjoy an emotional narrative for sure. Bendy and the Ink Machine, plus Bendy and the Dark Revival, releasing on the 29th of May for PlayStation 5 and Switch in North America and Europe. A bundled physical release of the two first-person horror adventures set in an ink-soaked cartoon studio where the drawings have come to life. You'll explore looping corridors, solving environmental puzzles, and trying to stay ahead of whatever is stalking the place. The first game is more of a slow burn, while Dark Revival leans harder into the modern survival horror-esque design. Taxi Chaos 2 is releasing on the 29th of May for PlayStation 5 and Switch in North America, with Europe to follow in June. An arcade taxi driving game built around picking up fares and racing through city traffic as quickly and as messily as possible. Reviewed terribly, so if you're hoping that this was going to be a spiritual successor to Crazy Taxi, you will be massively disappointed. Ball Pit is releasing on the 29th of May for PlayStation 5 and Switch in North America and Europe, a physics-driven arcade style where the brick-breaking genre has been turned up to 11, constantly firing balls, watching it ricochet, multiply, and spiral into controlled chaos. The aim is less about precision shots and more about managing momentum as everything quickly gets out of hand. reviewed overwhelmingly positively and praised for its addictive quality and engaging gameplay loop. It's going to be a good one, it's going to be a popular one. My executive producer Surfacing for Air shows on this as his pick of the month. Wings of Endless is releasing on the 29th of May for PlayStation 5 in Europe. It's already out in Japan. A side-scrolling action RPG with a bright fantasy look, following a band of unlikely heroes through monster-filled lands and steadily larger trouble. Combat mixes light platforming with weapon swapping and character abilities, keeping things brisk rather than especially deep. Already out in Japan and available digitally, where it arrived quietly enough. Looks like a solid little mid-tier adventure, provided expectations stay sensibly low. Autobahn Police Simulator 3 Complete Edition is releasing on the 29th of May for PlayStation 5 in Europe, a bundled edition of the open-world police sim, putting you on Germany's Autobahn to deal with the crashes, traffic stops, pursuits, and the occasional bit of roadside chaos. Patrol work, Patrol work, driving, and light mission structure make up the loop, with this version packing in the extra DLC content. This is never going to be mistaken for prestige gaming, and reviews have been rough, to put it kindly. Still, these sims have their audience and know exactly who they're aiming at, and my executive producer, he's being aimed at, JCross7776, he's chosen this as his pick of the month. Portrait of a Torn Deluxe Edition is releasing on the 29th of May for PlayStation 5 in Europe, a psychological horror adventure following a young soldier returning home to find an abandoned house full of memories, secrets, and things that should have stayed buried. Exploration, light puzzles, and story beats carry most of the experience, with the unease doing the rest through the atmosphere. A quick mention of some delayed releases, or games that released in other regions first and now are releasing in a different region. I never know how to phrase that. Harvest Moon, The Winds of Anthos, High on Life 2, Tides of Tomorrow, Outbound, Disciples Domination, Sworn Deluxe Edition. Alright, let's take a look at limited run games, what pre-orders are ending for them this month. Capcom Arcade Stadium Volume 2 pre-orders end on the 3rd of May for Xbox, PlayStation 4 and Nintendo Switch. A physical bundle of the second Capcom Arcade Stadium, pulling together a second batch of retro titles from the late 80s until the late 90s. Some really good titles here, from racers, fighters, action games, everything from obscure oddities to more recognizable names. You get in the usual extras like save states, rewinds, and display tweaks, and you can take some of the sting out of the difficulty. I think these are great bundles, and it's nice to see it physically. And my executive producers, Dave Horwath and Robotech, they've chosen this as their pick of the month. Sigma Star Saga DX pre-orders for this end on the 3rd of May for PlayStation 5 and Nintendo Switch. A new physical run of the cult Game Boy Advance oddity that mashed together top-down RPG exploration with a side-scrolling shoot-'em-up. You play as a double agent caught between humanity and an alien empire, moving between story scenes on foot and frantic spaceship combat in the air. It was a strange mix then, and still is now. Not everything lands, but few games of that era were willing to be this weird, and hats off to it. And my executive producer Nerdy Sean has chosen this as his pick of the month. Nidhogg 1 and 2 pre-orders end on the 17th of May for PlayStation 4, a physical double pack of the two fencing brawlers built around one very simple goal. Stab your opponent, then run to the next screen before they respawn and ruin your plans. The first is stripped back and razor sharp, while the sequel adds louder visuals, extra weapons, and so on. They're still very popular for local multiplayer gaming laughs, elegant in theory, deeply petty in practice. Little Goody Two Shoes pre-orders end on the 17th of May for PlayStation 5 and Nintendo Switch, a stylish horror adventure with dating sim elements following Elise as she tries to escape a village while struggling with romance, daily routines, and whatever is lurking in nearby woods. By day, it's chores, conversations, and keeping up appearances. By night, it turns into survival, exploration, and increasingly bad decisions. It won plenty of praise for its art style and writing when it first launched, still one of the more distinctive horror games in recent memory, and my executive producer Ghost Bune has chosen this as her pick of the week. Marvel Maximum Collection pre-orders end on the 24th of May for Xbox, PlayStation 5 and Switch. A physical bundle of Marvel arcade and 90s action titles pulling together a mix of brawlers, fighters, and retro favorites under one cape-covered banner. The draw here is less one standout game and more the convenience of having a small comic book time capsule in a single package. As with most collections, the value depends entirely on the lineup. If the nostalgia hits, great. If it doesn't, then, well, you won't see much value here. But my executive producer, Mr. Awesome, he's chosen this as his pick of the month. Deadlink pre-orders end on the 24th of May for PlayStation 5, a fast, cyberpunk roguelike FPS built around chaining movement, gunplay, and upgrades through short runs. You're dropped into a corporate war zone armed with oversized firepower, then expected to keep moving or die. It's been well received on PC for its speed and punchy combat. Bloodstained Ritual of the Night Complete Edition. Pre-orders end on the 24th of May for Xbox, PlayStation 4 and Nintendo Switch. A physical, complete edition of the amazing Igavania action RPG, bundling the base game with its post-launch updates and extra content. You explore a sprawling, demon-infested castle, unlocking abilities that steadily open up new areas in classic Metroidvania fashion. It's had years of updates since launch, and now sits as a very full-fat version of the game. But this new release hasn't come without criticism, the PlayStation 4 version in particular, because the additional content is a download code rather than fully on disc. At least one of them is. It's very confusing, which seems a bit crazy, especially for limited run games. Still feel like it's begging for a proper PlayStation 5 and Nintendo Switch 2 re-release. Hopefully that will come, but if it doesn't, then I guess this will be your next best option. And my executive producers, Punky Dooster, Mr. Lee from Eastern NC on eBay, Cole Animals, Instacritic, and OG CIB, they've chosen this as their pick of the month. Alright, the imports Play Asia territory. If you want to import any of these, you can do so via my Play Asia links, and perhaps get 5% off if you use my discount code Jordan2026. As I'm recording this, it's still April, and I'm not sure what's going to happen in May to that discount code. Hopefully it's still available, but you must click my link first. If you don't click my link, you definitely cannot use the code. The Tagalong Obsession is releasing on the 6th of May for PlayStation 5 in Asia, a first-person survival horror game based on the Taiwanese Tagalong film series set in a world where folklore and modern life blur in increasingly unpleasant ways. Exploration, puzzle solving, and slow building tension do most of the work, with the horror leaning more to psychological than action-heavy. It is a niche release tied closely to its source material, but the series has a strong following. Very much one for players who like their horror atmospheric and rooted in local mythology. Sudden Strike 5 Deluxe Edition is releasing on the 23rd of April on PlayStation 5 in Japan, with Europe to follow in June. A large-scale, real-time tactics game set during World War II, focusing on controlling mixed armies of infantry, armor, and artillery across expansive battlefields. The Deluxe Edition adds extra vehicle skins, stuff like that. It's not reviewed well at all, but for those who enjoy micromanaging wars, you fascist dictators you, then this should likely please. FZ Formation Z releasing on the 21st of May for PlayStation 5, PlayStation 4, Nintendo Switch in Japan, with Europe in July. And also Limited Run are doing this. It's kind of confusing, but a modern remake of the 1984 Jellicoe arcade shooter, bringing back its signature gimmick, a transforming craft that switches between ground mech and flight form mid-action. Each mode changes how you approach enemies, positioning and survival, with fuel and timing still playing a key role in staying alive. This version updates the presentation and expands the system with new weapons, upgrades, and customization options, but remains firmly arcade era in spirit, built around learning patterns rather than brute force. Terra Memoria is releasing on the 21st of May for PlayStation 5 and Switch in Japan. It's already out in Asia. A cozy turn-based RPG set in a bright fantasy world where 6 characters end up investigating a mess of missing crystals, rogue mechanics, and time-spanning mysteries. It mixes exploration-like combat, crafting, and puzzle solving, all wrapped in a very soft, beautiful homage to the 32-bit JRPG era. It's very much in that comfort lane, with more a focus on charm, humor, and character moments than difficulty or depth. And my executive producer, D's Nuts, has chosen this as his pick of the month. Majogami is releasing on the 28th of May for PlayStation 5 in Japan. This already released on Nintendo Switch and Nintendo Switch 2 on a proper cartridge. A high-speed 2D action platformer from Inti Create set in a papercraft world where you play as Shihora, a young witch trying to cut her way home while fighting craft witches and other twisted divine beings. Combat is built around fast slashes, instant movement attacks and rapid transformations that shift how you approach enemies and traversal. It originally launched on Nintendo Switch and Switch 2 before arriving on the PlayStation 5 with extra trials and challenge content added in this version. It is very much a precise action game, first and foremost, with style doing a lot of heavy lifting. If it clicks, it's all speed and flow, then you might enjoy it. A very solid title. Triangle Strategy is releasing on the 29th of May for PlayStation 5 in Asia. A tactical RPG from Square Enix built around grid-based battles, positioning, and weighty story decisions that actually branch the narrative in noticeable ways. Combat is slow, deliberate, and heavily focused on terrain and unit synergy rather than brute force. It originally launched on Switch, where it picked up strong praise for its writing and strategy depth. This PlayStation 5 release is more about bringing it to a wider audience than changing anything, but it remains one of the more substantial modern tactical RPGs, and it is mind-blowing that this did not get a Western physical release on PlayStation 5. If you want this on PS5 physically, you got to import this Asian version. And my executive producers, John Jamin, Adamantium, G Bautista 100, and Miami Sunrise, they've chosen this as their pick of the month. Japan is also getting these games, which already released in the West, and they are getting this release, which will not get a Western release and it will not play in English. Alright, let's jump into the community spotlight for my executive producers over on Patreon. Madhawk110 sent in this photo, which includes Mirror's Edge Catalyst. I really love the first game that I played on the 360. That was the time where I rebought the console after a hiatus, and I started hoovering up all the cheapest chips games. And Mirror's Edge was definitely a highlight alongside like Mass Effect. Would be nice to have more in the series, but EA, they just don't have it in their heart. Switch Effect sent in this photo, showing a love of the Alien franchise, and of course its inseparable relationship with Predator. I think I must be the only person on this planet who thinks Alien vs Predator just completely devalues both franchises. It's dumb, I hate it. JCross7776 sent in this photo with Kazan, which I remember when I featured it in a video of mine before. Maybe it was this video series, maybe the just announced video series. Anyway, I was my usual dry, cynical self, and people just didn't like that. They wanted me to praise this game to high heaven. Instacritic sent in this photo, picking up a bunch of games, including lots of recent ones too. Incantation, the first one, top left, import exclusive at Play Asia. It's only just been sent out, a decent enough horror game. Miami Sunrise sent in this photo, picking up Toho, Lunar Nights, the collector's edition. The artwork for this should have been the normal artwork for the physical release. The one they chose for that, I just absolutely despise. Jeddah Crow sent in this photo with Bye Sweet Carol, which I almost never remember the name of correctly. I always want to say Goodbye Carol. I don't know what's wrong with me. Firm Returns sent in this photo with some slightly retro titles. I don't know if it's just me, but did anyone else that the Xbox One was an actual thing? Feels like a distant, almost mythical thing at this point. Mr. Lee from Eastern NC on eBay sent in this photo, picking up System Shock 2, the limited run physical for it, but it is releasing in Europe this week, as you have seen. These Nuts sent in this photo with Onichambara. On my retro game channel, I am currently making a video that will include this series, the early entries on PlayStation 2, and I've been having a grand old time with them. Mr. Awesome sent in this photo, picking up Neverwinter Nights 2, which I always thought was like an extremely well-loved game, but looking at recent reviews, this remaster is supposed to be a bit divisive. I'm not sure why. They, my man in Japan, picked up these games, a couple of import exclusives in there, but the main one being the Kingdom Builder game from Inti Creates that I have already accidentally forgot its proper title for because I'm slightly hungover, but it looks like a sweet indie game. Dave Hallworth sent in this photo with Basketball, a sport I know nothing about, so I'm just gonna leave it there. Special thanks to my executive producers over on Patreon. Thank you for your support. Plus you watching right now, if you watched all the way through, please leave me a cool emoji. You know, like the emoji with the sunglasses, the cool guy? Leave that emoji down below because for me that's James Bond 007. I'm so excited for it, and I hope you all have a fantastic day. Oh, yeah, obviously, thank you for Tim for making this video. Thanks, Tim. Purchase via the links below so you can support me to support him. Have a fantastic day. Take care.